What's good, chat? How everybody doing this morning? We got Integrity and Trippy in the chat. We got Mookie in the chat. What's up, Mookie? How you feeling? What's up, HF Drummond? GI Skills, David Campbell, Marcus Bullock, Jordan Polite, Sky Preacher, man. What's up, bro? How you feeling, mate? Hope today is a little better for you. Hope everybody's feeling good this morning. The dev stream should get rolling soon, in about half an hour. They just tweeted about it, so for those of you who don't know, they'll be talking about Jane Foster, and they'll be talking with Jess Krause and Farah Zahal. Yeah, Zara Fazal. I'm sorry. You bear with me. It's an early stream. But yeah, how everybody feeling this morning? Let me do one thing real quick. Get some vibes going. We got Frogert in the chat. We got Ronnie Franks in the chat. We got ML251, Cobra25, LP, Semcha. I hope I said that right. We got Daniel in the chat. We got Nate the Gamer, Critical, Derek the Simp Guy. What's good, Derek? Papa Beans, what's good? Joel Cantante. You on the beach, bro? Enjoy, bro. Catch them waves. Champ Rondo. We got Champ Rondo in the chat. What's up, bro? TJ Cool. Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate you guys for popping up, hanging out with us. You know, we should have a interesting stream today. You know, get to hear what the developers have to say about, you know, Jane Foster. Get to talk to the voice actress and the narrative director for her story. You know, just hear their thoughts and maybe get a chance to ask a few questions about what's coming next. What's up, Jalen and OG Splinter? Tongue-tied this morning. Drop a 1 in the chat if you've already played with Jane Foster this week. What's up, Thunderlord? Do you think they will have a few surprises in store for the stream? They've insisted that they're mostly just focusing on talking about Jane. What's up, Orlando? Thunderlord with the sub. Appreciate that, bro. Appreciate that. Let's assemble. Appreciate the you guys enjoying my Winter Soldier video. Like I said, it just kind of came to me, you know, while I was working on other videos. You know, I had a completely different video that I had planned to drop yesterday, and that idea hit me, and I was like, yeah, let me make a video talking about it. You know, see what the subscribers think. I'm loving playing this Jane. She's both familiar and new. Yeah, they, you know, the build heads are getting their build videos out for. I'm seeing a lot of interesting builds for her. You know, some people are leaning towards melee for her, and you know, I'm kind of in the middle of the road. Like right now, I'm running precision on her, but you know, melee is looking pretty pretty nice. Is it me or is the stream very laggy? Let me check. Yeah, the bit rate did dip a bit. Let me see. That's saying is good. We'll see. I'll try to keep an eye on it. Appreciate you letting me know though. A lot of ones in chat. A lot of ones. Did my first couple of raids with Jane yesterday. Looking forward to new skins for her. Love what we got so far. Yeah, me too. I was hoping to you know, hopefully get a new skin this week, but they did drop the Mighty Thor skin the day that she dropped, so it makes sense that they will hold off until next week for the next one. Derek's playing with her right now. Got her to 155. That's what's up. Yeah, I still got to get her through the raid and everything. How likely do you think it is that when we get the Thor Love and Thunder skins, Thor will have Stormbreaker? Yeah, they're not doing Stormbreaker anytime soon, and the reason behind that is because Stormbreaker is an axe, so the way that he would have to swing that would require new animations and things like that. It's not as simple as her going from Mjolnir to Unjarn, which is basically, you know, the same weapon size wise and everything, and it doesn't change any animations. She uses the all weapon the same way that she uses Mjolnir, where Thor would need to use both hands to swing Stormbreaker around, which would mean they would need to go in and do some mocap and green screen and everything and get new animations made, and that takes time, planning, money, and things like that. And then when they tried to do it, it was breaking all kind of other animations and affecting different things. So it's like they just don't have the time right now to kind of figure that out. But you know, we never know what the future holds with this game. So in the future, never say never, but for right now, no, I wouldn't expect to see Stormbreaker anytime soon. We might get multiplayer 6 Avengers instead of 4. Not on this current engine that they have. They would need a much better engine than the one they used initially to build this one, and unfortunately we're stuck with the engine they're on right now. So 4 Avengers at a time might be the best you can hope for, unless they figure out something extremely creative behind the scenes. And guys, if you haven't already, make sure to slap that like. That definitely helps the channel and supports the stream and everything, and it's appreciated beyond words. Y'all see that leaked in-game battle damage Iron Man suit from Miller? Yeah, shared it on the community tab. But yeah, we're getting a new Iron Man skin and a new Thor skin that Miller leaked. Thor's Ragnarok skin with Surtur's skull on his back. 20 trillion and Jumbo XL. Appreciate the subs. Appreciate the subs. We need Luke Cage. We do. I would take Luke Cage in a heartbeat. I'd rather just have Beta Ray Bill. I actually have a video talking about Beta Ray Bill coming up. That's the video I was working on last night, before I switched over to talking about Captain America and Bucky. They can put Stormbreaker on his back. Well, people want to play with him. They want to play with Stormbreaker, so I don't think they would, just simply throw him on his back like they did with the Hulk and his gun. Yeah, Captain Dev stream today. It'll be starting in 15 minutes. Just under 15 minutes. Isn't much of this game design based on comics, so I don't know where Stormbreaker would be involved. It fits in with the skins they're introducing, so like his Infinity War and in-game skins could use the Stormbreaker, but like I said, it requires different animations and it would be breaking other things, so we just have to see where it goes from there. Andrew, how do you think Jessica Jones would play? Do you think she would be similar to Captain America? Combat wise, I would think Jessica Jones would be a bit more similar to Thor's unarmed combat, so when he doesn't have a hammer. What's up, Jorge? But yeah, I think slow, powerful punches would be the focus of her combat. I hope they release the rest of Black Widow's MCU skins, seeing how they aren't anymore after Black Widow. They're gonna keep going. They are gonna keep going. Lejeune in the chat, yo. Shout out to Lejeune. One of the reasons I started streaming in the first place. He's been asking me to start streaming for a while. I just think we need more flyers, or at least more with better movement. Quicksilver, maybe. I wish we could get Quicksilver, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. Let me see. I might have put in the wrong command for June. Okay, yeah, that's what it is. There we go. Yeah, guys, make sure you check out Lejeune. I just dropped his link in the chat. No stream from you, June. Like I said, they're gonna be talking to the voice actress and hanging out with Jess Krause. I think Brian is going to be on stream too. That's one of the main reasons I'm streaming it, just to see what questions or how he answers questions, because you're gonna get hit with questions about what's next. So I just want to see how they handle that and what info we can get outside of James. This dev stream was supposed to drop last week, but Brian was sick, so they pushed it back to this week. Look, Cap, June. I'll say June is right more than he's wrong. I'll give him that. Just out of curiosity, do you guys think we'll see what if skins from both the comics and TV shows? That's something they could explore. Like I said, right now we have no insight into what skins are coming outside of what Miller shows us. Will we get more story modes later down the line? We might get different story modes, but not necessarily like operations and campaigns. So we don't know what different looks like yet, but and the stream is live. Alright. Alright, the stream is starting soon. Yeah, because Jane's cape is not animated properly and it causes her to glitch at times. Yeah, they're gonna have to fix some bugs like that in the next patch. We should be getting a small patch within the next week or two to make small fixes. I think Black Panther needs an overhaul ASAP. What exactly do you have in mind for his overhaul? Like throw out an idea or two that you have in mind specifically. Give him a few hearts. Give him a few hearts in the chat. What's new in Avengers, bro? We might hear something new in this dev stream. They claim that we won't, but you know, you never know. You never know. This one up, Black Panther is beast mode. Yeah, if you get the right build for him, he can definitely, you know, he's definitely solid. Appreciate everybody popping in. If you just got to the stream, if you can drop a like, that definitely supports the channel, and I appreciate you being here. Definitely appreciate you guys popping in with us. I see I got some questions in the chat. When do you think Ultron will be in the game? Give them the Crystal Dynamics answer. Soon. Party Thor skin would be sick. Yeah, anything from What If would be, you know, a nice surprise. I'd be for it. Yeah, what are you guys expecting to hear from this stream? You expecting to, you know, get any insight into 2.6 or, you know, cloning labs or anything, or do you think they're gonna stick to their guns and just talk about Jane and not, you know, give us any kind of clues or bones about what's next? I feel that after the Kree invasion, they can tease Skrull invasion for the future. What you think? I think that would be interesting. That definitely, like, anything dealing with space would be cool. Big Kaz, I see your work ethic, brother. The streets see you. Appreciate that. It's true. Appreciate that. Like I said, bro, I'm really excited, you know, that you guys have been rocking with me as much as you have. I'm, you know, beyond grateful for it, and I got some things in the works to, you know, give back to you guys a bit more. I'm working on a Discord, setting up a Discord, and, you know, just different places we can, you know, kick it, interact, and stuff like that. Let me drop this for you guys. I just dropped the link to my Twitter in the chat. If you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, you can. Like I said, feel free to hit me up on Twitter, DMs, whatever. I'm always down to talk Avengers or, you know, whatever's on your mind, we can talk about it. Stranger Things was a W, June. Enjoy it, bro. Enjoy it. Appreciate you coming through. I sat up and watched both episodes of Stranger Things last night. And I watched a new episode of The Boys. They need to talk about the loadouts, emo wheel, and the comic buff. I can tell you right now, for loadouts, the only thing you're gonna hear is nothing to announce. Probably just talk about Jane, maybe showing off some skins, a little tease at the end, but I do doubt it. I can't say you're wrong. Can't say you're wrong, Victor. Ant-Man and Captain Marvel are a must next with War Machine and maybe Miles because of his movie. I think Miles is a pipe dream, but you know, they could work out something with Sony to get another Spider-Man in the game. I'll take them if they bring them, but yeah, that seems like a stretch at this point. I watched The Boys. It was dope. Yeah, the boys is, man. I can't wait to see this next episode. The twist at the end of episode 7, I didn't see that coming, but it was definitely interesting. We need patrol mode with Kree bosses and horde mode. Give us a reason to just hang out online, but we need join in progress. They're working on stuff like that. I can't say for sure if it's horde mode, but you know, patrol mode and Kree bosses and stuff like that should definitely be in the pipeline. And Brian confirmed they are working right now to make patrol mode more interesting than the version of it that we saw initially in that trailer that they dropped. Yeah, the new episode of The Boys is fire, 100%. 100% fire. Like I said, if you just popping in, guys, the dev stream should be starting soon. And while you're here, make sure to slap that like. And I apologize, guys. My throat is dry this morning. Maybe because I haven't been asleep that long. If anything, a mouse skin would be the most reasonable outcome, maybe for Spider-Verse 2. It's a ton of Spider-Man skins they could do. Like, they just gotta give them some more focus. Ricky the Mongoose with the sub, appreciate that. Appreciate you becoming a Avenger, even if you're a casual one. Which I might have to change my name. I'm carrying people through OLTs and raids and stuff. I might have to switch over to hardcore Avenger. Turn up the volume some more. I got you. What's good, NDC? Appreciate you coming through. What do I think they're going to talk about? Mostly Jane. You know, we're going to be talking to the voice actress and the writer for her narrative. So they're going to be talking about, you know, the inspiration behind the story and what it was like, you know, taking on the role and things like that. What's up, Nikita? I can't remember if I said what's up to you, but appreciate you coming through too, bro. Always good to see you. Maybe Miles can be on Xbox too because it was a special deal with Sony only for Peter Parker Spider-Man. Like I said, they can revisit that deal possibly, or you know, try to rework something else. I haven't heard anything leaning or suggesting that, but you know, you never know. I love to see Captain Carter as an echo for Captain America. Yeah, I think there's a group of people who would really love that. I think coming off the heels of Jane, you might want to slow down and go towards somebody who's a bit different, or you know, leaves a bit more room to be different. So you know, Captain Carter, unless they give her like a jetpack, she's essentially going to be Captain America. So it's like, looking at the criticism they got for Jane, I don't think that's something they should jump head first into. But you know, we'll see. I think, you know, more Echo heroes are definitely on the table. It's just about planning and figuring out who makes the most sense, and you know, who would get the biggest response and the most positive response, I think, going forward. I hate to be a pessimist, but I think they'll stick to their guns this stream. I can definitely see that happening, Papa Beans. Like I said, they may take a few questions from chat, so you know, we never know what to get through. Bro, I already got the champion 15. Grinding. I got a couple champion levels so far. I think I might be about eight champion levels in, maybe more. What if between new character drops we got an Echo in between, just to give us something while they work on the bigger characters? Well, so look at it like this. The Echo heroes, they save them some time, but not much, because they still have to build new character models and, you know, some animations and things like that. So it's like you still have a decent amount of development time. So it's like at best you're shaving off a couple of weeks, and you. After talking to Brian about it over on Discord, they don't seem to be interested in bumping up the number of echoes anytime soon. So maybe we might just get about one every year amongst the other 2 or 3 heroes they have playing. I think they should bring in War Machine. Hey, drop a 1 in chat if you think they should drop War Machine in the game. Let me go ahead and drop mine because he 100% should be in this game. I'm all about War Machine coming to the game. Do you think Scarlet Witch will come to the game in 2023? I think Scarlet Witch is in the pipeline of characters they want to get into the game. Right now they're focused on fast tracking the heroes that they've had lined up for like the past year and a half. So She-Hulk, Winter Soldier, and Captain Marvel are the ones we know for sure are in the pipeline. But there is going to be someone completely out of left field coming, according to Miller. Yeah, he's currently working on that story as we speak, but they do have something off the beaten path planned. Is this their first time working on long hair for a character? No, not necessarily. What's up, UK fam? Appreciate you coming through, bro. See, we got 128 people in the stream. If you just popping in, appreciate you coming through. The dev stream should be starting soon. We'll be hanging out with them for a bit and maybe hang out for a bit after stream or after their stream ends. Just hanging out, maybe chatting or possibly playing Avengers. We'll figure it out. But if you just popped in, make sure to leave a like. That definitely supports the channel and helps YouTube get the stream in front of more eyes. War Machine would have been the best Echo character in my opinion. War Machine is, he would be the yeah, that's the ideal Echo character, I would say, because it's like I don't view him as an Echo because him and Iron Man play completely different from each other. But I get it, they're 2 dudes in a metal suit, and it is essentially an Iron Man suit or Iron Man armor at the base of it, but he's built for completely different reasons. Ironheart Echo of Iron Man. That's something they could explore. I wouldn't want that to come at the expense of us not getting War Machine. So I'm all about Ironheart after we get War Machine. Doubt it's Wolverine, yeah. No Wolverine anytime soon. He's not in their immediate plans. Yeah, see, they got a couple hundred people in their stream. Do you think they will go more MCU look for Winter Soldier? I want that in his comic mask version with his red star metal arm. I think we'll see a couple of different looks for him. I'm looking forward to their iconic skin for him, like what their unique design for Winter Soldier will be.
Hello, are we live? Can everyone hear us?
All right, here we go.
All right, awesome. Happy Mighty Thor Week. We hope that everyone is enjoying Jane's combat kit and having fun in the Avengers initiative with some new team comps. I'm Megan. Hi, I haven't had a chance to speak to a lot of you for a while. I'm the Director of Community here at Crystal, and today we're at some cool, we're going to take a look at an interview. We're going to have talks with a couple of dev members. And just celebrate Jane's launch. So first up, we are going to play a chat from yesterday with Jessica Krause, who's a narrative designer here at Marvel's Avengers, and Zara Fuzzle, who voices Jane in the Avengers, and I feel like so many of you have fallen in love with her, as we have. After that interview, we are going to be chatting with Brian to get his insights into Jane's creation, and then some gear insights from Alex. And to clarify, apologies for the confusion, this isn't a gameplay session. Originally, we were going to try to do this before launch, but so much going on trying to get Jane out the door, so we're just going to kind of talk about the philosophy of building the character and so on, and dive into some of the insights of that. Also, a huge shout out and thank you to Neha from the Tomb Raider team for running things behind the scenes and making sure this all goes well, because I don't know how to do live streams, so thank you, Neha. But let's do it. Let's get started, and we hope you enjoy the chat with Jessica and Sarah and get to learn a little bit about the character and enjoy. All right, well, welcome everybody. We hope that you're enjoying Jane Foster's Mighty Thor Week in Marvel's Avengers, and we've got some exciting guests today to talk to. I haven't been around in a while, so I guess I should say hello. Hi, I'm Megan. I'm the Director of Community at Crystal, and I'm super excited to be joined by Jessica Krause, Senior narrative designer at Crystal Dynamics, because she recently got promoted. Like, big applause. And also Zara Fuzzle, who voiced Jane and is a prolific voice actor in gaming and other mediums, and we're going to talk to them about bringing the character to life. So thank you for joining us today, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so let's start with Jessica. Avengers! A little bit about yourself and your work in the industry, and then what do you do here at Crystal?
So I'm a senior narrative designer and writer at Crystal Dynamics. I started at Crystal
Appreciate the sub, Joshua.
June of 2020, so I just hit my 2 years here. And I first started working on the Spider-Man pack for Marvel's Avengers, and then moved on to Jane after that. Before Crystal, I worked at Telltale Games for about 2 years. And my background is actually in theater. My background is in playwriting, and then I moved into video games when I started at Telltale as an intern, and then got promoted as a writer. So yeah.
Awesome. Exciting. All right, and how about for you, Zara? You have a prolific career, as I said, across gaming and TV and all sorts of stuff. So can you talk us through where we might have heard your voice before?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Zara Fuzzle, and I love that you have a theater background, Jess, because I also have a background in theater. That's how I came into acting.
Theater nerds!
Yay, live audiences! And I'm actually opening a show tonight.
Oh, so exciting!
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, at the Geffen Playhouse here in Los Angeles. But so my background is in theater, but I was always fascinated by animation as a kid. I wanted to be an animator, and so I always would study the voices behind these shows. Even as a kid, I would see the credits like, oh, who plays this, who plays that. So as an adult working in the theater, I always in the back of my mind knew, I want to work in animation. So about 10 years ago, when I moved to Los Angeles, I really started making the push to work in animation and video games. And I found that having a background in theater and live performance has really equipped me to kind of enter that industry where so often you have to imagine the audience, excuse me, that you are speaking to.
Yeah.
When you're often alone recording in a booth. So I just love it. I've worked on several animated series, including Young Justice, She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, Voltron, Amphibia, Big Hero 6, the series, Craig of the Creek. And I've had the astonishing good fortune to work on a lot of video games where I'm actually a player character. Borderlands 3, Destiny 2, League of Legends, Apex Legends, I'm the announcer. And so I play a lot of superheroes, primarily in the DC universe. So I'm so excited to play Jane and play a superhero in the Marvel Universe sandbox. I couldn't be more thrilled.
That's amazing. What's your day job? I get to play superheroes. Like, that's so cool. I mean, I know that it's a simplification, but it's a pretty cool premise for a job. I love that.
An embarrassment of riches, truly.
All right, so for Jessica, let's start with you with the inspiration for Jane. So about her comic origins and why she's such a cool, unique character. And then also, if someone is not familiar with Jane, what would you say is the recommended run of comics that they read to kind of brush up on her origins?
Yeah, well, we definitely pulled a lot of her origin from Jason Aaron's run of The Mighty Thor. It's a pretty extensive series. It includes Jane Foster, but also a lot of Thor as well. And it goes into the War of the Realms. And it's such a good comic run. I actually was not a huge fan of Thor for a very long time. That was more, I have an older sister, and that was sort of her hero that she really liked. And as the younger sister, I was like, are you trying to tell me something? Because I know a lot of Thor is about that sibling relationship and they not liking each other. And I'm like, are you telling me something? But I ended up reading the Mighty Thor run for Jane, and I just fell in love with it because I'm a huge fantasy nerd. And most of that run, and particularly the War of the Realms, is all it's like comic book fantasy, and it's so good. So I highly recommend that run by Jason Aaron. And yeah, that's where we pulled a lot of Jane's origins, because that's where, you know, Jane is suffering from cancer in that series and is using Thor, well, not using Thor, but she is called to Mjolnir, and it essentially, like, it, when she is Thor, her cancer doesn't exist anymore. But then when she puts the hammer down to turn back into Jane, it's like it resets her treatment. And so I was super fascinated by that. And we tried to pull as much of that into our version of Jane.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you. And we'll touch a bit on that even more a little bit later. Yeah. So Zara, I know that you weren't actually aware of like what character you were auditioning for when you had this, in particular, which hero. So when you found out that it was Jane, like what made you excited about the character and getting the role?
Yeah, I mean, I was excited in the first place to audition for Avengers because it's a game I wanted to get on. And the audition was for the role of a senator, and she gives an impassioned speech, you know, defending this marginalized community. And so I thought, oh, what kind of NPC is this? Like, what senator is this? This is someone from X-Men. So I just, you know, kept it grounded, kept it real. Heard back shortly after from my agent that I had booked the role of Jane Foster. And I was like, oh, Jane in the game? That's cool. You know, and my familiarity with Jane was really from the MCU movies and Natalie Portman's portrayal of the character. And it wasn't until the session was booked and scheduled that I was told that it was not only Jane Foster, but Jane Foster as the mighty Thor, a playable character in the game, a hero. And so I was so excited. And I have to say, like, being Thor was never on my like bucket list of roles. Like, dream was impossible for me. So I was thrilled and delighted.
I love that. That's amazing. So both of you have actually shared that you have a personal connection to Jane and her story, and I think that that has just provided such a unique, a unique perspective to the role. So Jessica, can you expand on that a little bit and how it affected the writing, and then Zara, we'll go to you after that.
Yeah, I actually did a Twitter thread about this when Jane was released. So feel free to go look at that if you want. Yeah. But so the reason Jane was so personal to me is because, you know, I went through that of watching someone I love very much go through cancer treatment. My dad, about 10 years ago, was diagnosed with cancer while I was still in college. And so because a lot of Jane's Intel doc set is about her reaction to that diagnosis. Also, you know, what is happening during her treatment? How is she dealing with that? How is she dealing with that while also having Thor at her side, taking care of her? And so a lot of that stuff was pulled from my experience, my dad's experience, my mom's experience. When I was first tackling these, I spent like 2 hours on FaceTime talking to my parents and getting their perspective on what their reaction was, because they could speak from an emotional place as having their family members or having themselves dealing with this, but they're also both scientists. So I could discuss from a very like pragmatic standpoint, a very logical standpoint, what that reaction was like as well. And then I was able to put some of that into Jane because she is a doctor. So she would have that moment of like, oh my God, what do I do? Okay, I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to step. This is my procedure. This is going to be my routine. So yeah, it was very personal for me to write this because I was able to, you know, pull from anecdotes. We talk about Thor brings up nutrition shakes, and that is like something that is burned into my memory from 10 years ago, like opening the fridge to my parents' house and seeing just Ensure bottles filling the fridge up. And so I feel like putting in those personal anecdotes gave it a level of authenticity that I really wanted for Jane, because I wanted to respect it and I wanted to give as much empathy as possible.
It's a fantasy story and heroes and gods from other worlds and stuff, but it's so grounded in reality, especially with that angle. And it's interesting because you say you wanted to give it a personal feeling. it's so personal, but it's also very universal to other people's experiences.
Absolutely.
It feels like, looking at the reaction that I've seen to the portrayal by you, Zara, and then Jessica, the writing, I've seen several people already speak up and say, this is the life that I was living. Either it was myself or a loved one. And it seems to have really resonated with a lot of people. So Zara, how about with yourself? Why was this a personal story for you?
Yeah. I mean, when you write something so personal that's so rooted in personal experience like Jess did, it really resonates and strikes what is true for each person who receives it, including me, the actor interpreting the words. I lost my father to pancreatic cancer, and several other members of my family have dealt with cancer. I don't think there's a single person in the world who hasn't been affected by cancer, either directly or affecting their friends and loved ones. I have a few friends right now going through chemo, and what I always try to do as an actor in any role I play is to find the human. And I especially love doing that in finding the human in the superhuman circumstances. And so it was very easy to access Jane, not only because of my personal experience with cancer and seeing loved ones go through that, but just being a human in a world where you're given an enormous challenge. Okay, here's the challenge. You're going to have an emotional response to it. And then you're going to see what's the next step I can take to move forward tomorrow. And then the next day after that, the next day after that. And those audio logs with Jane and Thor are such amazing pieces of writing and were such a pleasure to act. And I have to also shout out Kal-El Bogdanov, our voice director, who really, really helped me walk that fine, subtle, nuanced line without pushing too far, without, but yet still keeping it energized. It was just a pleasure to really connect and be vulnerable and let my heart come through. So thank you, Jess, for that opportunity.
Of course.
Well,
course.
and
also,
thank you both.
Shout out to Kal-El. He is incredible. He's an incredible voice director.
Yeah.
And like I said, it has already resonated so much with people that we're seeing online and people sharing their own fundraisers and stuff like that. And like, that's the impact that entertainment can have. And so, huge congratulations to both of you for such a nuanced, an amazing portrayal, but also for making people, feel represented and seen and so on. I think that's such an amazing experience to deliver. Okay, so let's talk about the narrative itself. So we've talked a lot about how their things are similar. So Jane Foster in Marvel's Avengers does have a different narrative from the comics and the MCU film. So Jessica, how did you adapt her and her character and the storyline specifically to our game, but still obviously keeping that DNA?
Yeah, so I mean, granted, her origins are very similar to the Mighty Thor comic run. So a lot of that was expanding that a little bit, because the comics don't go too in depth into her cancer treatment, not in the same way that we do. Mostly because like it's a comic, we need to spend that time with her as Thor for a lot of it. So being able to expand on that is something we were able to do with the game, as well as change how she gets into our universe, because Jane comes from an alternate universe in the context of our game. Thankfully, we have these tachyon rifts that we have built up since Kate's release that we could pull from to kind of give us our reason to pull someone from other universes. So part of writing her banter and also some of the intel docs was changing how she talks to the Avengers, because she does know them, but she knows a different version of them. And so it's this like, okay, my version of you is a little bit different, and like there's a dog that they have on her universe and things like that. So a lot of it was adapting that way to kind of be like, well, we do have this relationship, but you don't have that relationship with me currently, so I have to do the work to build that relationship again.
So bizarre, like that. Literally out of time. Like, how do you the feeling, like the sort of like innate feeling you have looking at someone that you're like, I know you so well, but literally I don't know you. Who are you, right? So it's so unique and nuanced. So, Zara Jane has been getting so much visibility in the Marvel Universe, Jane in particular, but now we got the Mighty Thor and so on in the MCU. So, like, how did you make Jane your own?
Oh gosh. Again, I just went back to what I had submitted on my original audition, which
Yeah.
was a strong woman who was very grounded, very real, very upset by injustice. Truth was
Yeah.
important to her. So I think those were the seeds that I kept with for the character. That's really the heart of her. Truth, justice, doing the right thing, protecting those who can't protect themselves. That's the core of Jane Foster
Yeah.
and the Mighty Thor. And so I really just kind of focused on that rather than thinking about other ways the character has been portrayed. I really just tried to keep it rooted in what I thought was her core. And then for some of the fun battle chatter stuff, that's when it was really fun to lean into the grandiosity of Thor. And
there's that Thor tone in your voice.
Right, right. And it's like, and that was something we discussed with our voice directors, Khalil Bogdanov and Maddie Stratton as well, fantastic voice director, to kind of figure, okay, when is Thor making when is the Mighty Thor making fun of Thor? When is she really feeling it and leaning into the role?
Exactly.
And when is it just her in her more human origins?
I love that. So, Jessica, what is the relationship between Jane and Thor in this universe, and how does that kind of play out?
Yeah, it's very different because as I'm sure a lot of players have heard in her Intel Jock, her relationship with her Thor didn't end really great because their kind of final confrontation was a bit of an argument before Jane picks up Mjolnir. And so she kind of has to like reset and kind of have that, moment with Thor being like, you are my ex-boyfriend, but we're not together in this universe, and we ended on bad terms in my universe, but you don't know that, so I don't know how to like navigate this. And then there's that additional stress of Jane in her universe made a deal with Loki, and that is something she's essentially has run away from by coming into our universe. And so there's that layer of like, what did you just do? Are you going to fix this kind of like tension between the two of them? But also there is quite a lot of playfulness with them as well, because there isn't that baggage of the relationship they had from her universe has been removed. So there's some really sweet banter between them where like in Jane's universe, Thori is a thing, which is Thor's dog. And they get to have this conversation about like, Thor having a dog in her universe and how upset Odinson is that he doesn't have a dog in this one. There's some playful humor about like, isn't Loki a pain in the ass? Yeah, he's a pain in the ass in my universe too. So there's a little bit of playfulness that I think Jane is allowing herself with Thor that she hasn't been able to with her own universe.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, that like sort of fresh chance, but also lots of baggage. And what do you do? What do you divulge, and what do you just kind of like downplay and step away from, and so on? You know, I have to imagine being pulled in from like an alternate universe is just like complicated. In its own right.
Yeah.
And on also, top of that, like exes and stuff.
Yeah, and also the sense of like seeing, because Jane is seeing a Thor that does not have guilt the same way that her Thor did, because her Thor gave up the hammer for her out of a sense of guilt. And so it's such a different universe to come into and seeing, oh, this is the Thor I remember. This is the Thor that was the good side and like the good times essentially. And being reminded of that.
I love that. So Zara, I'll ask both of you this. We'll start with you, Zara. Do you have a favorite moment or line of dialogue or interaction that you feel kind of like perfectly encapsulates Jane in our game or something that you're just like really proud of that you want people to
Yeah.
look out for?
Oh gosh, I love the dialogue with Kamala Khan. As a
Yeah.
Pakistani American myself, that character and that IP is something I've been interested in and following for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I just love, I think Jane has a line about how she's the best of us. Ms. Marvel's the best of us. And I just love that so much. There's
Yeah.
almost these like maternal sisterly moments toward her. So I love that. There's also a great exchange with Steve Rogers and a tea kettle. And how you shouldn't put an electric tea kettle on a stove. I just thought that was
Yeah.
hilarious.
I love it. I love it. And how
So,
about you, Jessica?
oh,
What about
well,
you? What's your favorite?
so the tea kettle line, fun fact, is something I did in college.
Oh
Yeah.
no!
Accidentally put my electric tea kettle
It
on
happens,
the
it's fair.
stove and it just melted.
Oh no, poor baby.
Yeah. 19-year-old me was not very smart. Yeah, there's a lot of fun little tidbits.
Yeah,
There's
this is
we created a
this is the
Cause
stream, I guess.
Snubs
This is
group
what we
that
got
is-
going
that
on.
Jen has joined, and I believe it's Clint and Widow, and
It's about what I expected.
I
I just wasn't expecting it to kind of drone on as long as it's
and
going.
then Jane has joined
Like
the
I
coffee group.
expected it to be a bit more snappy.
There is. This is taken from again Mighty Thor. So there's a very small exchange.
I think things will probably pick up once we get a developer on stream and get some actual insight into what was going on and what the thought process was behind her coming to the game.
Well, she leaves, and then Captain
She-Hulk
I can't remember
news.
who comes up.
I think they're gonna tease She-Hulk once they do a dedicated blog post to announcing 2.6 and what's coming behind it.
Essentially, I interpreted that Jane hates Tony Stark. At least from her universe, and so she just rags on him the whole
Yeah,
time
it's-
in her banters with
Like I
him,
said,
and that was quite fun to
they
play.
do interviews with the
'Cause
the
lot of
voice
times
actors
it's
all
like,
the
"Oh,
time,
getting
so
along
it's
and
like
stuff," and I liked
the interview with Spider-Man was a lot more engaging.
No, I
But
hate Tony Stark from my
yeah.
universe, and so I'm going to
we
take
get
it.
what we get, I guess.
I love it. All right. Well, yeah. I hope. Reception. Jane's been out for a few days now. People seem to be loving her as a character and super fun gameplay and everything.
All right, so Brian says we see your question about operations for heroes, and I'll touch on that in a bit in a second, in the next segment. I'm sorry.
With us today and the
So
amazing
Operation Talk coming up
see you again in the future.
I got one.
whenever we get to the next segment.
We are ready. All right. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks, Megan, so much.
All right, so on to the next part. Here we go. They're muted.
Megan, you're muted.
I just look like I'm making these weird gestures. I was summoning Alex. Alex, come to us. Come to us. All right. Making these weird gestures. I was summoning Alex. Uh-oh, we got an echo. We got an echo. Let me fix this quick. All right. Well, we hope that all of you enjoyed that interview. Brian and I were talking about this earlier, that like after this interview, I talked to them for, I think, another half hour, because they are just the most pleasant, fun ladies to talk to. And yeah, it was just really nice to hear from them and their inspiration. But now we're going to talk some gameplay. So thanks for joining us, Brian and Alex. Can everybody
pleasure.
just want to say hello and make sure everybody can hear you?
Miss, my pleasure. Glad to be here.
All right.
I am also talking.
These are also words. All right. So we're going to start with Brian. We're going to talk a little bit about philosophy behind Jane and so on. I know you've been super excited about Jane and her getting out there, and kind of like a project that you've worked on very personally and so on. So let's start with like the general design philosophy. How did you approach Jane in terms of ensuring she feels like the goddess of thunder, but she also is bringing her own unique spin to the table? Because that's a really, really hard line to balance.
Yeah, and we've had similar heroes in terms of, kit and abilities before with Clint and Kate. And this one we wanted to take a look because, and I see a lot of comparisons to Clint and Kate in terms of what we did for those versus what we did for Jane versus Odinson. The major difference in why there is more shared kind of mechanics and abilities between Jane and Odinson is the common denominator, right? It's Mjolnir. it's their source of a lot of their power, not all of their power, but a lot of their power. And so we did a a, a top to bottom kind of review of both Odinson's kit when we started talking about Jane early on, and figuring out, okay, what are some things that should be common across the two of them? What are some things that should definitely be unique? Like, more in terms of not looking at it in terms of like, here's a list of the abilities, let's do a checkbox sort of thing. More in terms of what we tend to call comic DNA or character DNA, which is looking at their comic origin, their and the source of their abilities that you see in their stories from the comics, and what would make the most sense and be the most fun to bring into a video game, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that they may do in the comics that wouldn't really translate to video gamey sort of mechanics. And so there was a lot of things like Thor's kit is very comprehensive, and I think it's one of like, there aren't a lot of instances. I mean, there are plenty of other games that have had Thor in them, video games that have had Thor in them in the last, I don't know, 30, 40 years as video games have been around. But I like to think that our encapsulation of Thor Odinson is probably one of the most satisfying combat kits out there. And so we didn't want this, we didn't want Jane to feel completely foreign, especially, like I said, that a lot of their shared powers come from Mjolnir. So we took a look at those things and we compared them, and we made some pretty tough calls, and looked at ones that we thought would be the most bang for the buck. So a lot of things in game development is about prioritization. Like, would we have liked to do a full different kit for her? Maybe. I don't know. That was never a topic for us. It was more about like, their strengths are are the things that make them unique. And so we leverage those things. And even like one of the things that we've talked about in blogs and other interviews is like her light attack combo. Mechanically it's the same, but our AJ and our other animators took time to say, yes, it's the same mechanic. I mean, there's not many different ways you can do bonk 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 with a hammer, right? but they looked at it and said, Jane is much more nimble, she's much more comfortable with throwing it as part of her melee moves, not just her ranged moves. And they just noodled on it, and they created that toss 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 rather than bonk bonk bonk, as I've affectionately called it in our meetings. And that to me really stood out in how we made her feel different while still feeling similar. So yeah, it was definitely a different tack. Is this how all heroes are going to function in the future? Absolutely not. Like, we've said that our heroes operate on a spectrum. Clint and Kate had a more different kit because of their background, and Kate in our history too, with her usage of aim tech, and Jane and Odinson have similar but different kits now. Every hero that we do, we're going to evaluate and see what we want to do and what we can do and what we think is the right thing to do, and we're going to go from there.
That was a comprehensive answer. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I've answered it about 90 times in the last week, so I think I'm getting okay with it.
So I think you touched on kind of like, is this the template for the future? Not necessarily. We take a look at things on a case by case basis. Let's take a second to speak specifically to Jane's intrinsic and her overcharge. So like the All Mother's Blessing and God Tempest. I think I said Tempest 9,000 times while recording the war table, and they had to
excellent
keep
job with the war
me,
table,
like,
by the way.
Saying it wrong. My brain just filled it in. God Tempest. So can you talk a little bit about those?
Sure. I mean, you're talking about her intrinsic and her ultimate. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just the intrinsic overcharge, or just like just a little bit more specific about the foundations of her play and how she plays.
Yeah, so one of the key things that like I mentioned before with her is that she's much more comfortable using Mjolnir at range. And so we and giving, I don't know if giving Mjolnir the freedom versus allowing or encouraging Mjolnir to have the freedom to do what it wants, like with her ultimate that way, sending it out to say, hey, go, do your thing. And because she's much more comfortable allowing, and utilizing the hammer at range, we wanted her intrinsic to feel that way. We definitely didn't want to just do a version of Odin Force for her, because that, again, it just doesn't suit her kit. And so we like the idea of making her, and we pay attention to all the different builds that players have used with Odinson, especially with, and I spent a lot of time with this build myself because it was just ridiculous fun, of like range Thor builds, right? If you're a comic person, like the idea of playing Thor only as ranged is wild, but like it felt really good in our game. And so we said, hey, what if we had a hero that her kit was tailored more that into that route? And so we started looking into, okay, what are some of the things that we would change? What are some things we would give players to help them lean that way? At the same time, not directing them to do it, because as always, you have talents and upgrades and things that let you customize how you play. Like if you don't want to play range, you don't have to play range. That's fine.
Yeah.
And so we just wanted to give some different options that way, where if you really like playing ranged Thor Odinson, this is a new way to do it while still feeling familiar.
Love that. I love that. So everything kind of culminates in the all weapon, right? And her ultimate heroic. And
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about that and Undiarn and just how epic that is?
Yeah, it was one of those things, and this is one of the interesting things about design, because when you're doing the initial design, it's all on paper, right? It's all in meetings, and it's in text and writing, and it isn't until you really see the animation and you see the VFX and you see all those things come together, even when you have the final model of the hero. Like for a long time, we didn't have the final iconic outfit for her, and we were using this really weird gray version of it that still gives me kind of nightmares. Um, but once you see all of those things come together, and like the final piece to really come together on that was summoning Uniyarn. And when I saw her reach up, and the VFX, the gold VFX around her arm come in, I'm like, yeah, we nailed it with this. Like it just feels so like you get some chills, and you're like, that's really how it was supposed to work. And so yeah, to me it feels really satisfying, and I love the seeking Mjolnir is throwing it out there, utilizing a different hammer, because it really ties into her. And I mean, how worthy can you be to have two hammers, right? And but also giving people the opportunity of some other creative talents with that, of saying, nope, Mjolnir is going to protect me. It's going to revolve around me, and it's going to protect me from incoming stuff. Like a lot of cool options for her in terms of how it plays and how it works. So and I'm sure, as Alex will talk about, gear is how we can take that even further, and how we can change these things to function even better.
Yeah, and I love that. We'll talk about gear. One more question for you. What is your kind of team comp setup with her right now? So you're saying it feels cool, you like doing range, and there's all these different options. Like how are you using Jane currently, and with who?
I'm trying everything, really. And that's a kind of a lame cop-out answer. Sorry about that. But yeah, I mean, I've been in some form or another, I've been playing with her for about 6 months or so. And so for me, since she came out on Tuesday, and this week I haven't spent a lot of time playing with her on live, because I play both on PlayStation and Xbox and PC, and so I tend to bounce around with different builds on different platforms. But I've taken a little bit of time since Tuesday, and I'm looking forward to having a 3-day weekend here in the States, of just being able to sit down and on all the different platforms, try different things with her, and just kind of get in there and play with some other people, and to see what feels the best now that we have everything in a nice little package that's tied up and sent out.
Yeah, I wanna do some playing this weekend as well, and I know that I'm just gonna get stuck in this endless loop of photo mode and not
Yep.
actually moving more than an inch and just taking pictures the whole time. But we've
Yeah.
seen some amazing photo mode shots so far, and I love the ones that see
Yeah.
Jane and Thor together. They're so good.
I love retweeting those every time someone sends them to me on Twitter, because they're just all so good. And then I save them and I put them in like rotating wallpaper on my phone.
I love it. All right, Alex, let's talk gear. So just some thoughts in general. We'll pull up a couple of screenshots to show off some gear in a second. But what was the philosophy behind differentiating gear from Thor? But again, making sure same sort of thing with the combat. It's unique to her, but feels different as a fellow wielder of Mjolnir.
It was really good to actually be on the ground floor for Jane, because it felt like, hey, let's build Jane in such a way that it is expandable with gear, not to correct what we did in the past. Like, oh, hey, Thor was kind of built, and then Thor's gear was built as an afterthought. And we've definitely changed that over time to make it this like, oh, hey, he definitely has pieces I want to go out there and hunt. But again, we had to fix something that we did in the past to make something more engaging. Well, we didn't want to correct that. So at the very beginning, when we were discussing Jane's skills, we were like, okay, how can we expand upon this so we could start building in all of those systems? And so it's like, oh, hey, her overcharge is going to have a different type of function. It's going to have like a different type of buildup. It's going to have different variable and meter enhancements. It's like, hey, how can we attach these things on there? How can we make this part of this this part of combat engaging? What type of loops do we want players to engage in? What type of combat loops do they want? It's like, hey, and then also across all of that, we need these to be useful in boss encounters, not just mob encounters.
Yeah.
So that type of like mentality from the top down is like, hey, she has a different heroic ultimate.
Mhm.
She has the same uh, heroic assault and heroic support. And the big point on that one is that we need those to also feel different. So we took a step back to unpack those moves. And in the process, we also made some ideas and some perks that will eventually filter down to Thor. But they'll obviously premiere on Jane with some of her hero gear. But obviously, in the future, we have other plans for those type of things. And so in doing so, we take a step back of like, hey, how do we want these type of heroic attacks to be modified by gear? How do we want to like tie it more into like
Mhm.
selfish actions, like I just want to worry about my DPS, or do we want to try and tie this into more team oriented actions, like kind of that thing? It's like, oh hey, it's normally a support ability, do we want to give you some selfish type of benefits, or do we want to like push the support capability similar to like Hawkeye's recovery arrow? It's like we have perks out there that increase its duration a lot, and then we have some that increase like your damage while inside of it and everything like that. So
Yeah.
that
Let's take
type
a
of
look at some
aspect.
of those. So
Sure.
we're gonna pull up some screenshots. So Neha, would you mind pulling up the classic gear image for us? And then Alex, you can kind of walk us through a little bit of what we're seeing.
Absolutely. So the classic set, which should be the All Father set. Please tell me if the image doesn't say All Father, because I don't look at the Twitch chat. I just sit here
We
and
got
talk.
it up there. We got it up there.
Appreciate it. So the All Father set is supposed to be about perk synergy within one piece of gear, but overall, it's supposed to be again a jack of all trades. It's getting all elements of a hero's kit up to some type of capability, with my favorite actually being the ranged piece,
Mhm.
which has the lethal ranged hammer restoration, which is defeating an enemy with a ranged attack drops regen pack, which is just an in general great sustained feature. But then again, right below it is critical recall. So when returning to your hand, it will automatically be a critical hit, which is just a great way to just increase damage on like the little chumps that are in the way. And then, of course, if you have a lot of fodder, as the hammer comes back, you're going to be getting a lot of regen packs. It's just a fun perk, not necessarily like, outstanding in its DPS capability, but always good to see those big numbers pop up.
Yeah,
The
love it.
rage piece is again one of those that it's just in general a very good like piece to add into other sets. So increase all damage while all Mother Blessing is active. So hold down that right trigger so her intrinsic is up, and you're going to be getting more damage pretty much from everything. Then below that, increase the amount of overcharge energy gained from all attacks. So not intrinsic energy, overcharge energy. So it gets to your overcharge faster. So in general, a great utility piece that can fit in any build. And then we get to the heroic rampant supercharge, S tier perk. Don't really need to explain that.
Yeah.
And now we get into some of the other perks that really are like showcasing other aspects that we were talking about, where it's like, hey, we want to highlight the new heroic, and we also want to unpack some of the older heroics. So ultimate lethal shock explosion. If you defeat an enemy with Mjolnir from all weapon, it creates a shock explosion. Hey, you're adding in more status effect to that type of stuff, being able to like take out more waves of enemies with just like a single enemy defeated. Or if there are enemies closer to like bigger enemies, you're going to be able to spread that shock status effect even better. And then God Bless Assistance is genuinely one of my favorite perks that the combat team made up when we were brainstorming. Like, hey, how do we like? It's a contrarian style perk because you're naturally taking an offensive, very selfish perk where you're only worried about your damage, and you are turning it into a support ability that you have a
Mhm.
chance of dropping an intrinsic orb. Yeah, fine, it'll help you, but it could also help other people, and it's going to overcharge teammates in range, which is fantastic to just sustain Hulkbuster or Percussive Blast or any of that on your other teammates. So
Yeah.
in general, this is honestly one of my favorite pieces. And then when you go
I
to
love listening to you talk about this. You light up. Like you light up talking about the year, which is just so fun. All right. Should we look
It's
at
not just
technical
here
yet?
too. This is
Yeah.
him all
I
day,
know. Thank you,
every
Julius.
day.
Doing the right work here. I love it.
It even woke Maverick up. So
Oh, so we're gonna take a look at the technical set next, correct? We switched that.
I yeah. So again, the really quickly, but like the chess piece of the All Father is like pretty
Yeah.
basic because again, it's like, oh, you're losing less intrinsic energy, you're gaining more crit from hammer attacks, and then
Yeah.
you gain like a basic thing. But in general, it's a defensive piece. But yes, let's go to the technical set
Mhm.
next. So the technical set, its entire thing is the loop of overcharge,
Yeah.
not her intrinsic, not her ultimate. So it's focused on her overcharge or God Tempest. So starting off with the heroic piece, we have unarmed attacks generate more overcharge enemy per attack. Solid. Defeating enemies while God Tempest is active is increases duration 2.5 seconds per enemy defeated. Solid. And then one of my other favorite ones, and as you can see on the icon, that this will be shared with Thor, increase the duration of Warrior's Fury by 14 seconds if you activate it while overcharged, giving you giving you an insane window of potential damage increase, especially if you have like Warrior's Fury Breaker on another piece. Going on to the melee piece, we've got increased energy from All Mothers. So this one is like kind of like, oh, okay, why is that going to overcharge? Well, it's like your All Mothers is like you're holding your intrinsic. You're going to be able to do more damage, and especially if you go into other aspects where the more damage you do, the more energy you're going to gain. And then of course you have pinned multiplier. Pin an enemy and you get an orb. The orb will be contextual. So if you have full health and you pin an enemy, you're not going to get regen packs. You're going to get like heroic or intrinsic, whatever is lower at the time.
Mm-hmm.
All Mother's Amplifier on the range piece, increased status damage, allowing you to get the status effects up faster, especially if you're building for Sonic.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rampant Shockwave Breaker is actually one of the more interesting ones, where the shockwaves, when you throw your hammer and hit somebody while overcharged, is going to do more damage, increasing all of that stuff that's increasing like range or status buildup. And then we go on to the defensive piece, which is this is actually one of the other parts that Jane can vault. And I know a lot of players out there are like, I don't like vaulting, or I don't like the objectives that have me defeat an enemy while vaulting. Well, look, it's a mechanic in game. You should learn to use it. It's actually really good.
And hers is really good because it's not really a vault. It's like a let me throw you around like a clown.
Yeah, and so you grab the enemy and you toss them behind you. It's rather quick. It's not as quick as Widow's, but it's still like a fast action.
Yeah.
And so if you're overcharged and you grab an enemy and you toss them behind them, they're going to get hit with a bolt of lightning. They're going to get status damage on them. All Mother's Rush, great sustainment feature that if you're just holding that intrinsic down, you're going to have a natural health regen. And then Lethal Strike Overdrive, which is you generate normal All Mother's energy, your normal intrinsic energy when dealing damage or defeating enemies. So bookending this, we have one thing that increases regen of your All Mother's Blessing, and then with the heroic, you have something that increases your overcharge energy and ways to get more in the middle. So that entire loop in there is like keep All Mothers up, get overcharge faster, cast Warrior's Fury, rinse and repeat. And I really enjoy this set.
I love it. All right, we on to Apex then?
Yes, we're on to the Apex set.
Apex set. All right.
So the Apex set is to try and differentiate. The primary goal here was you're going to see a lot of the same perks from Thor in here from his Apex set, but this one is definitely hitting the heroic ultimate harder than Thor because it doesn't have any perks for that. So starting off with the armor, we've got ultimate hammer intrinsic. So while all weapon is active, when Mjolnir is going around hitting, you have a higher chance of dropping an intrinsic orb to get that overcharge faster. Lethal unarmed cryo leak still remains. And then of course, ultimate extension to increase the duration of all weapon. Pretty self-explanatory. Going on to the heroic for Century of Asgard Scion, Azure's Breaker remains. Rampant lethal extension for Warrior's Fury remains. Ultimate cryo hazard. So if you cast all weapon on the ground, you are going to create a cryo hazard around you. So this one in general is it's not like you're not going to get numbers. It's like, oh, I don't see a 20% increase, but there is a huge utility aspect of this, especially since we get into the fact that it is a gear perk hint on that type of thing. This is honestly one of my favorite where I was like trying to unpack like, hey, how can we add more utility to this kind of stuff? So this is combining some of Thor's natural kit into gear. Going on to the melee is just like one of the like, pretty basic ones. If I like using All Mother All Mother's Blessing and or All Weapon. We have Ultimate Blessing Breaker, which increases all damage to All Mother's Blessing while All Weapon is active, which you can combine with other versions of that. And then Hilt of the Asgard Scion retains Ettri's Breaker, increasing all hammer attacks, or increasing damage for all hammer attacks. So again, Apex set being the least subtle out of all of them, but seeing a lot of damage potential.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I think we have one more set. We're gonna take a look at a couple of discording gear pieces. So last
Yes.
screenshot, we'll take a look at that. Here we go.
Yeah, so we have two pieces up right now showing discordant gear. I don't think I need to show the heroic piece, as a lot of, I think like the first thing I saw on Discord was the fact that people are saying that All Mother's Assistance is on the heroic piece in discordant gear. So hey, it's there. Let's focus on the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
So we have, for the ranged piece, for the ranged slot, we have Pin Cryo Leak. So pinning an enemy spreads cryo status effects to nearby enemies. This is on the range piece, which can roll sonic status effect and pinpoint vibranium payload. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the melee piece, we have granting melee impact, which is currently right now a perk we have only dropping on Jane. But I'm currently exploring whether or not we just expand this everybody, which is we increase the melee impact. So you're going to increase your capability of staggering enemies as long as you're sending a sonic combo.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I did just get one very specific question. I'm trying to like grab it in chat before it scrolls away, but why so blue panda bear is asking, do you get locked out of specific gear slots as rewards if those slots are higher than the others? For example, if my chest piece is the highest power level I am I locked out of getting that possible reward?
So if you're
You're not
you're not locked out of getting it as a random piece. You're locked out of getting it for power level increase. So it's like, oh hey, I got defense and I got melee this week as my two superior pieces from the raid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next week you're not going to get those. You're going to get the other two. You're always going to, the pieces that drop superior, the pieces that drop increasing your power level, are always going to be weighted towards the slots that are at the lowest power level setting.
Okay.
So obviously if you have two pieces that are tied, so it's like, oh, your melee and range are tied and it's going to drop melee or ranged, it's random between those two. But if only one of those is like lower, that is what it's going to be.
Okay.
So
do the event quests that now give superior gear interact with that the same way?
It interacts with that the same way. On the flip side, though, it is not locked to slots. It's locked to it drops on any slot. So it's going to go to whatever the lowest slot is that you're going to get that for that superior reward. So the roster rewards will always give you power level increase weighted towards your lowest power level slots.
Awesome. Okay, so Neha, we can pull down the little screenshots of the gear because we now have a kitty guest, and I think that takes priority. So we're just going to make sure that we can see the cat for the end.
Chat has demanded, and he has behaved.
So one more question for you, Alex.
Sure.
We recently reworked the rewards for the reoccurring LTEs. So the Red Room and Cosmic Threat are coming up for the first time since that rework has kicked off. So can you speak to that a little bit and what we're going to expect from those?
Sure. So the Red Room event was giving out the technical set plus like Tachyon and all the like legendary Tachyon. So in an effort to standardize and to have a theme per event, it is going to be just the technical set. Mm-hmm. So the roster reward is going to remain. It's going to be the technical set. It'll give you the exotic. If you're above power level 120, it's going to be the entire roster. And now all of the minor missions are also going to give the technical set. And as long as you're above power level 120, it will be the exotic variant. But so because you can complete the minor missions with any hero, and we don't want this to be the same type of power level cadence as the Tachyon mission, you're not going to see power level increase from all of the missions in the Red Room. It's primarily going to be from the roster report. This is mainly focused on, hey, gear hunting. I want to get the technical piece. Do I want to do all of the minor missions on one hero? Do I want to do the minor missions on other heroes, as well as we have on the daily repeatable? we're going to be awarding the harm gear, which you can only get from Roy on the helicarrier. So that personally to me is like, hey, it's something interesting for the daily repeatable. So Red Room is going to be about gear hunting. It's going to be about like perk hunting for those specific things. Even though, and the roster reward is still going to have power level increase across the board. And now we get to the cosmic event, which is going to be one of the more even ways of getting power level increase. Not only is the roster reward going to give you Omega gear, but the minor mission chains are going to give you Omega gear and a cosmic minor artifact. So you're going to see a power level increase for all of those pieces. So you're going to get a pretty even spread when you get over there.
Awesome. All right, man, we had a lot more to talk about than I thought we would. Like, I love the enthusiasm, and it's so exciting to hear the stuff directly from the two of you. I think that Adam and Nick have been in chat, kind of answering questions as we go. I did see one ask about the Jane Foster streamer kit, which you can see. It's very pretty. Thank you to our creative services team. We'll definitely get that online for everyone. But yeah, I think we answered the majority of the questions that we can. So I would say, Brian and Alex, are there any other things you want to just throw out there, mention, shout outs, anything like that? And then we will sign off with a really cool little video before we go.
Yeah, so one thing that obviously a lot of people have been talking about in chat today, which is about around hero operations and hero narrative. And so as with Spider-Man and now with Jane, we're trying some different ways of injecting narrative into the game with them that isn't as large as, say, a hero operation. Hero operations take a very long time to build and take a very long time to polish and ship. And so our goal, and one of the things that we and I can't get into a lot of details around it, but one of the things that we did with Jane was we have on the development side have changed a lot of how we develop and produce our heroes in an effort to get them out faster. And so we were trying a lot of new things, which is why it still took us, the kind of the normal amount of time to get her out compared to another hero. But we're hoping to see that stuff pay off with the next hero and heroes that we do. I don't know that we're currently right now, we're not planning on doing any more Kate and Clint or even Black Panther length operations. But what I will say is that just like we did with Jane, and how heroes have a spectrum of kind of, their abilities and what sets them apart, we want to do that with the narrative side as well. And since the narrative is such an important piece of this game, is now knocking things off my desk. We want to find ways to tie the heroes that come into the game with the overarching narrative of the game. Some will tie in more when they do arrive than others. For instance, our next hero that we're working on right now will tie almost directly into, thank you, we'll tie it directly into kind of the events of what's coming in the next few updates that we've talked about a little bit. So we just want to keep trying different things and see what works, right? And see what works better, what doesn't, learn from it, adapt, and go from there. So when we're not going to say, yes, the next heroes that we have are going to have the same type of operations as before, we're taking your feedback, we're listening to your feedback, we have our own feedback on what we want to do, and we're going to keep iterating, keep trying new things, and see what we can do with that.
Awesome. Any final thoughts, Alex, on your side?
The gear in the futures looks cool.
Awesome. Well, it has been lovely to have both of you, and it was super exciting to chat with the ladies earlier about the narrative and voice of Jane and so on. Huge thank you again to Neha for helping run this stream behind the scenes. So one more thing before we sign off, we wanted to give you a first look at Thor's Love and Thunder outfit in action, which is just awesome. We're so excited for you to see it. And thank you for watching. We hope you have fun playing Jane. Share your screenshots, give us feedback. We're listening, we compile it, we take it to the team, and we hope you enjoy it. So thank you. Have a great
Thanks,
weekend,
everybody.
everyone.
Alright, looked like we did get a tease for a new skin. Wasn't expecting that. Alright. So what would you guys rate that dev stream? Four out of 10. League confirmed. Yeah, bro. You already knew. Once Miller dropped that skin, it was coming. It was 100% coming. What's up, Zealot King? Again, appreciate you guys coming through, hanging out. We picked up a decent amount of info about gear and stuff like that. For those of you asking about hero operations and seeing more of those in the future, it's looking like they're leaning more towards, doing what they've been doing with hero events, where you get the narrative from either the motion comics, or you get it from the audio files. So it's like, I'm very interested to see how they handle the next hero release, to get a real picture of what the future looks like when it comes to new hero content. Yeah, the interview got kind of dry at different points, but that's on par with what most of their streams are. She might be the acting community manager. I think they hired someone recently. They're probably still being onboarded and everything. The most interesting thing they said, outside of going into the specifics about gear for Jane, was that hero operations will not really be a thing in the future. So you won't see these big story campaigns be dropped into the game in the future to introduce new heroes. They'll come in smaller packages like we see with hero events for people like Jane Foster and Spider-Man. All right, Nikita, catch you later, bro. Appreciate you coming out and hanging out. Honestly, the stream could have been done on Brian's tweets. Oof. People need to relax, and then they're doing their best. Yeah, just like, you just kind of got to manage expectations with this game and with news about the game and stuff like that. It's like, I know everybody has a vision that they have for the game and what they want it to be and what they see it could potentially be, but right now they're on the slow road to getting there. They're building up the team. They're getting more people involved. They're expanding the roster. They're doing what they can. It's just not going to happen overnight. This isn't a super big studio like Insomniac or the team that works on Destiny. So it's like they're doing what they can with what they have. So just bear with them a bit. Bro, we've been relaxing for 2 years. Like I said, that's fair. That is 100% fair. And we just came off a very long drought with no hero content. So if you're impatient or you feeling like this is taking too long, that is 100% fair. Most people haven't had a new hero since Black Panther in last August, and you just got a Echo hero. So that is a very fair criticism, but at the same time, on the other side of it, I understand the position they were put in by Marvel Games and their new acquisition and things like that. So they did what they could, and they gave us what they could in that time under those circumstances. So it's like, I cut them a bit of slack on it, but if you are a little more harsh in your criticism of them, given the nature of what's been happening in the past 6 months, I get it. When do you think Bucky will come? Soon. I think if we can get cloning labs by August, I think we'll have a better picture of when Bucky will arrive. What's up, Colson Lee? And what's up, someone took my sandwich? Appreciate you guys popping in. Appreciate Aaron popping in. Dylan, I appreciate you popping in. And I appreciate you guys getting over 100 likes on the stream and hanging out as long as we have. Let's just hope they try to get momentum going forward. Another dry spell will fully kill the game, in my opinion. I think that's what they're trying to avoid. So it's like, it's about getting out, heroes, content, villains, things like that. And I think patrol mode might be a surprise in the future. So it's like patrol mode might be on the table before year's end. I want She-Hulk first. Bucky's great, I'm sure, but we need Lady Big Green. Like I said, I'll take either one. If I can get Bucky sooner, I will not complain. But if we get She-Hulk right around the corner, I won't complain about that either. No problem, Fetty. Appreciate you coming through. I'll cut them some slack, but it doesn't say much, to be honest with you. Only keeping me here is just Marvel Heroes. If it was any other IP, I would have dipped. And that is 100% true for most people who are hanging around for this game. If it was another IP, this game would have died in 2020 or early 2021. But, because people are such big Marvel fans and so dedicated to the brand and the IP, it's like you want to see it do better. You want to believe that they can turn it around. And they're trying. They're honestly putting forth the best effort they can given the circumstances. Like for a long time they had a pretty small team, so they can't do that much under those circumstances. Sky Preacher Man wants War Machine. I want War Machine. I want everybody. I want every hero we can squeeze into this game. Been watching a lot of Falcon and Winter Soldier recently. That show has some really good action scenes. The fight scene with Winter Soldier in the club over in were they in Madripoor, I believe. But yeah, that fight scene was dope. Fetty, you really want She-Hulk first? A lot of people do. Guys, drop a 1 in the chat if you want She-Hulk first, and drop a 2 if you want Bucky to come first. You can tell the team cares about Marvel and IP as a whole. I have faith in them. Yeah, same. There are a lot of passionate people on the team right now. I take it the 3 means you want someone else. War Machine, I'll take it. I will take it. The team is doing good so far. They're doing better. They're communicating their vision a little better, with the exception of the future of hero operations and content. Like, we still don't really have a tangible vision of what that's going to look like and what they actually have in mind going forward. But like I said, either She-Hulk or Bucky, whichever one drops first, that will be our first real view of what major hero releases will look like in the future. A lot of 1s for She-Hulk, couple 2s for Bucky. Like I said, I'm either way. Whatever we get, I'm good with it. Like Jane Foster, I'm good with, what we got. To be honest, I'm going to miss the operations. Operations were cool. They just, didn't offer any replayability. There's no incentive to keep playing over and over again. And I see the bots are here. Get the bots out of the chat. Everyone, he's saying 1 and 2, but if I said Doctor Strange, I bet you change your mind. Doctor Strange is in the pipeline. Doctor Strange is in the pipeline. They know you want him. They want him. They absolutely want him in the game. They just have to get past Captain Marvel before we can get there. Well, at least that's the current belief. I'm actually about to wrap up stream. We can wrap up here. I may pop back on a bit later and run some missions with you guys. So if you're down for running raids and OLTs and stuff, we might do that around maybe 6 o'clock CST. So, again, appreciate you guys so much for coming out, hanging out, catching the dev stream, chatting, letting me know your thoughts, leaving likes and supporting, all of that good stuff. And we will be back later on today. Again, appreciate you guys beyond words. Hope you guys have a good, rest of your day, and I hope to see you later on tonight if you got time to pop through. Catch you guys later.